Hi everyone, it's James here from Production Expert and welcome to NAMM 2020. I am joined by
Audrey Martinovich
and Julian Rodgers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute pleasure to be back in Anaheim for the NAMM show, the Winter NAMM show. As ever, we are doing our kind of end of the show wrap-up video, best of the stuff that we've seen, that we've heard, that we've experienced. Yes. I'm going to start because, quite frankly, I think, unpredictably maybe, I have chosen the find of NAMM.
Oh, of the whole NAMM.
The whole of NAMM. And of course, it's the announcement of the Universal Audio Lunar recording system.
Yes.
It's epic.
I want to check it out.
It is absolutely off the chart.
I'd like to check it out, but seriously, the UA booth, don't even bother. It's like people on people. It's risk assessment time. But yeah, seriously. It sounds amazing, but I haven't seen it yet.
So, in short, it's UA's take on a DAW that is tight integration between Thunderbolt versions of the Arrow and Apollo hardware, but they've done it in such a way where no one's going to be annoyed.
Oh.
To the point where if you already have UA plugins, conventional UAD2 plugins, you can use them alongside Lunar.
That's cool.
If you already have AU plugins, because at the moment it is Mac only, you can use your UA plugin, your AU plugins within the Lunar environment.
That's super cool.
There are Lunar extension plugins, which work in a slightly different way, which use the power of your computer's host processing, as well as the DSP that's built into the Apollo hardware. It is very, very cool. My first meeting of the day was with UA's Lev Perry. It's his baby pretty much. We spent a good half hour going through all things Lunar, and it is very, very cool. That video will be up on the site as soon as I can possibly get it edited and up into one piece. As you can no doubt hear, my voice is somewhat suffering. I think it's still up in the aeroplane rather than down with me.
Probably.
But it's very, very cool. The most exciting thing, of course, is that Lunar is free. It is free of charge if you are a UA hardware user. So I've scratched the surface of what it can do. It's a fully fledged, fully integrated DAW into the UAD platform. It's very, very cool, and I'm very excited.
Very cool. Well, I'll talk about my first meeting of the day. I pretty much got off the plane and went right up to the 4th floor of the Hilton, where Soundgirls has partnered with AES to do a bunch of mentoring. So they have 5 mentoring sessions that all happened today. I was lucky enough to attend the one with Leslie Ann Jones, Lenice Dent, Fela Davis was there as well. And so this was one about recording art. So instead of it being a panel, everybody who attended actually just got to ask questions of these people directly.
That's cool.
It was fascinating. So just asking about how they balance business with recording, what are their challenges that they run into on a day-to-day basis and how to overcome them, just kind of how they got their start, what recommendations they have for the people who are just starting out, and kind of how to launch into their careers. It was really great.
Because believe it or not, folks, NAMM is more than just gear.
It is. There's
Don't get me
so
wrong.
much.
I love my fair share of gear, but there's a lot of other stuff going on, lots of panels and kind of lots of live music, as you can tell in the background.
Yes, lots of education opportunities, places you can learn Dante. It's super cool.
And lots of food.
Lots of food. And we need more coffee.
The food trucks are great. Julian, tell us about your first experience of the day.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, oh no, what am I finding of the day? And I was thinking, I haven't seen anything that. Hang on a minute, Pro Tools, and yeah, it's got to be in there. I think I sort of forgot about it almost as soon as I'd seen it because it's like, well, of course it's there now. If you haven't already heard, Pro Tools 2020.1 has been announced. There's only one feature really to speak of, and that's folder tracks, which an awful lot of people have been waiting for. I was talking to the guys, they were saying, it's easy to say, can we have folder tracks? It's a little bit more complicated to actually do it because it kind of touches absolutely everything in Pro Tools. But it is really logical. I love the way they've done it. it shouldn't be complicated. Why should it be complicated? Thankfully, it isn't. There are two sorts. There's a basic folder track. That's just a logical organisation of putting tracks together so that they'll display and you can hide them together. And there's some editing stuff, so you can edit the folder track, and all the things that are within that folder track will get edited along with it in much the same way as a group, but it's kind of a nicer way of doing it. But then there's another one that involves routing, and that's more interesting because you can route everything through the output or bus that you've assigned to that folder track, but you don't have to. That's good. Another of my questions was, can you nest? So can you have folder tracks within folder tracks within folder tracks? Yes, you can. You can go 9 deep, which is a lot. If you think like
that's
9 times 9 times 9 times, that's. So yeah, there's plenty there. It displays nicely as well. It's nice and clear what's going on in the mix window as well as the edit window, which is obviously important because in Pro Tools we have that one-to-one relationship between what's in the mix window and what's in the edit window. Not much else to say really. What I thought was quite nice was there's a little kind of extra activity meter as well as the level meter in the mix window, which I was looking at going, well, what's that for? And it's kind of obvious, just in that because you don't have to route to the output that meter is showing. It shows you activity when it's going, even if it's going somewhere else. And of course MIDI, because you can put MIDI into one of these routed folder tracks, and why not? It's not stopping you from doing anything. I haven't got a great deal more to say about that really, because it was as simple as I thought it should be. That's the fairest way of putting it. So yeah, Pro Tools 2020.1 folder tracks. Should we start talking about folders in the clips list now? Anyway, no, moving on.
So we joked, we joke fairly often, that Antelope will probably have brought out a new interface.
By the time we're done with this.
By the time we're done
here. Yeah.
They haven't. They've brought out 2. But the reason I'm kind of saying this in jest is because they're probably the most prolific hardware manufacturers on Earth right now. And the latest thing they've come up with is the Galaxy 64. This is the mother of all audio interfaces.
Okay, all right, 64 by 64?
So you'll know.
Tell me 64 mic pre's or something.
You'll know. It's not quite. It is 64 channels of analog I/O over D sub, so line I/O.
In how many U?
2 U. It has 4 HDX ports. It has. I need to kind of refer to this. 2 Thunderbolt ports, 4 HDX ports. Synergy core processing has 12 DSPs and 2 FPGAs. AES, MIDI. But the big news is they've put Dante on it. Now, in my world, in my workflow, that's a big deal because all my headphone monitoring is dealt with via Dante. So it's a beast of a module. 2U, it's epic. No mic pre's on this one, so if you need to have your own mic pre's, but I'm using a console. I'm always kind of looking at these things from my own workflow point of view. Of course I am. Who isn't? It's epic. I mean, I would go as far as to say it's biblical. I mean, I know I'm a Star Wars fan, but to have Luna and Galaxy as my first 2 choices of the show, I thought I was thinking, but it is properly epic.
That is really cool. So some other events that I'm excited about. So every year, Mix with the Masters is here with some really great seminars brought to you by famous engineers. So this year we've got Chris Lord-Alge is going to be presenting on Friday, I believe, Alan Meyerson as well. And actually right after this, I'm jetting right over there because Sylvia Massey is going to be doing a presentation. And I love her. She's so awesome. And yeah, it's like a big happy audio family over there. It's really, really great stuff. So that's booth 14104. I was smart and wrote that down. So check it out if you haven't been there yet.
So already.
Okay.
I had a few contenders for my number 2 choice. I've settled on, and this is a bit odd because I'm sure this was one of my choices at last year's NAMM, but there's a small difference. It's the DSP APB 16, which I definitely did last year, and the MuX mixer, which is new. The big reason why I'm going to have this one is because I'm actually going to get one this time because I haven't yet seen one. I was talking to Colin and No reason for not getting one other than they're selling them faster than they can make them, which from their point of view has got to be good.
Yeah.
But from our point of view, that's kind of bad because we can say, can we have one? They say no because somebody's going to give us money instead. And it's like, yeah, all right, you do what you do. There's the same stuff if you don't know the AP16, it's a single U software controllable analog processing. There's lots of misconceptions that it can do EQ. It can't, but it can do saturation, transient type effects, and particularly compression and limiting. There are plugins that you can control, so you can control 16 channels of analog processing from a plugin interface within your DAW. The new thing that they've done, which I thought, really, is that good? And then I saw it and I went, yes, actually, that is very good, is the MUX mixer, which is it's saturation and compression in a 8-channel mono mixer format. You instantiate a plugin on each of the channels you want to then be available within that plugin window. Nice big mixer-shaped window that looks like a mixer, and there's some digital EQ, and then analog, saturation and compression, and then the summing is digital, which I was scratching my head. How can they do the summing? They don't. They do it digitally. Really good feature is that it looks after the gain for you. So when you come out of that analog stage back into digital, you can't clip it. It'll hold your hand through that, which means you can abuse it like an analog piece of gear and not have to go, boring, gain stage. So that's all great. I'm looking forward to seeing that and having a play and seeing how it goes because, I just love that stuff. I think it's so clever, and it just occurred, I haven't seen that yet, and I should have because I thought it was cool last year. Hopefully I think it's cool this year.
Cool. Well, that's our wrap up for the end of day one. Audrey, thank you so much.
Thank
Julian,
you.
It's been a pleasure as always. We will see you tomorrow. Different cast, different crew tomorrow. But we'll see you tomorrow for day 2. So from us here at NAMM Show 2020, day 1, good night.
Good night.